really grateful and thankful to the entire team who has conducted this big event. So I'm Asma Khalid, and I'm going to present in this event how you can deploy your web application on Microsoft Azure. So a little bit about myself. I'm basically a software project manager, and I'm also a Microsoft MVP, and I'm .NET expert. I have 9+ year of experience in IT industry in leading, developing, and managing IT projects, both in government and private sectors. I have done my master's from Lahore University of Management Science and my bachelor from FAS University, Lahore. And I'm first female from Pakistan to receive Microsoft Most Valuable Professional Award 5 times, and also first female from C Sharp Corner to receive Microsoft Most Valuable C Sharp Corner MVP Award 5 times in a row. And as for my achievement so far in the tech community, I've been ranked at 237 in on online developer community C Sharp, and my articles has about 8.1 million reads. So let's go further into what I'm going to share today. So basically, in order to deploy a web application on Azure, you first need to have an application. You can create any sort of application in ASP, either ASP.NET Framework 4.8 or .NET Core. So I'm using an application which has simple purpose of importing and exporting CSV files, and it is built in .NET Framework 4.8. So there are two ways you can deploy your application on Microsoft Azure apps using app services. You can deploy either through Visual Studio, or you can first go to your Microsoft Azure portal and then create an app service there, and then use Visual Studio to deploy your code on Microsoft Azure. So I'm going to use a second approach where I first go to Azure portal and then create my app service there, and then use Visual Studio and deploy my app service to my Azure portal. So go to your portals first, and then create a resource. Then under web app, click create. Now you have a simple form where you need to provide certain information. You need to choose your subscription. You need to select your resource group. If you don't already have created a resource group, then you need to create one. And you also need to provide the name which will be used in a URL to access your application. So after that, you need to select your runtime stack. As I have mentioned that my application was developed in ASP.NET 4.8 framework, so I have selected ASP.NET 4.8 framework as my runtime stack. Then you need to select your region where you want your server, where you want to have a server where application is deployed and have less latency rate. So for Pakistan, Southeast Asia is the most fast server we can utilize, where our application latency rate is much lesser compared to other servers. Then when you select the one of your region server, you would notice that under app service plan, you will see an automatically created plan information. I have hide this information for security purpose, but you when you select your whatever region you selected, based on that region, this information, Windows Plan South Asia, for example, will get updated. If it's Linux based server, it will have Linux information, server information here. If it's a Windows based plan, it will have Windows plan information. So now in next step in the form, you need to choose your size of your server, that how much memory you want your server to have, what sort of specification it would have. I'm using a free infrastructure with 1 GB memory, which is enough for my current session, but you can use paid as well for production purpose and development purpose, and then there is another way. So click then review and create to review your form which you have just filled for creating an web app, and carefully view it that all the information that you have provided is according to your specifications. You will have detailed form, and then click create. When you create your web app service on Azure will start initializing its deployment, and after successful deployment you will able to see different information right in front and in front of you, which has been created because of your web app that service that you have created. So now go ahead and click on the name of your application that you have created, which you will eventually going to use in your URL, and that particular space on Azure portal will be open. Now this is going to be the URL which you are going to use to access this application. At this time, if you access this application, you won't be able to see your own application, because we have not deployed anything of our own. Azure will have its default page highlighted at this particular URL. So now go ahead to your Visual Studio inside your application so that we deploy that. Before deploying your application, make sure that your application is built successfully. Then right click on your project and simply click publish. Then from publish page you need to select Azure, publish your application to Microsoft Cloud, and then click next. Then on Azure App Service window, select that option and then click next. In next page you need to sign in your Azure account where you have just created your web app services. So after successfully log into your Azure portal, your Azure account, you will able to see this particular page, and now you have an here option to first choose your subscription, and then you can see that you are able to see your app service that you have just created on your Azure portal. So just select that and click finish. Now view your details on this publish page. It will just highlight that your application going to be published on this particular URL, and it has belong to this sort of resource group and all that, and go ahead and click publish. And then after successful publication of your application to your Azure portal, you just simply click on your URL. Now there's a good thing here, that since you can see that this particular URL is not HTTPS, not secure, but because I have deployed my services and created my web app services, I can utilize HTTPS, because if I go back into my one of the previous slide where from Azure portal, just give me this one, you can see that here my URL is HTTPS. It means that I can use both HTTP and HTTPS URLs after publication of my application on my Azure portal. So let me go forward. So now just open your link in whatever choice of your browser is, and you will able to see your application on that particular URL. Now your application is available to access publicly, and you can play around with your application. Since I told you that this particular application purpose is just to import and export CSV file, so I just import a random IMDb CSV file information, and its entire information is displayed on my application. So that's about it from my end. You can reach out to me if you have any question of this tech session through through one of these channels, my social channels, and I'll be glad to help you. So that's from my end. And if you have any question anyone would like to ask, you can just ask right.
So I think yeah, so a fairly a short one. I guess you had some time there. If you want to share some sort of details about yourself or any projects you still need, might have some time to share that. Feel free to do so. The up next we have the session we have next is about basically focusing on hands-on creating a project, focusing on Azure durable functions by Swami. So yeah, he'll be joining us shortly, and then in a few minutes. Yeah.
Great, great. Great. I think I don't have any particular project to discuss here.
Okay.
I think one of the key thing here is that the deployment on Azure service is extremely simple, and also there are automation steps which obviously I'm not covering, and I have seen from one of the sessions someone else is covering that. So yes, we can also in on Azure, the good thing, like we can automate all deployments steps for next time when someone deploy changes on your application. We just don't need to like the traditional deployment of IIS server. Just don't need to go to our IIS server explicitly update our application publish there. We can simply write our workflow of deployment automation, and then next time utilize that when some changes happen in our application.
So we have a question. Thanks for that, Asma. We have a question for that sort of says that can you scale up the resource in your app service plan, uh, and how does that work?
Sorry, could you repeat the
Says
question?
can you scale up resources in your app service plan?
Yes, you can at any time and any point in time, if you would like to scale up your any part of your web service. You can do that. You have that option when you create that web service space on your Azure portal. You will see an option of scaling up or down there, so you can easily do that, and according to your specifications.
All right. Um, Let me just check if there are any other questions. I think uh, that's about, yeah. Um, yeah. So thank you so much, Asma. It's been a pleasure having you on the on
Thank you
this.
so much for inviting me, and once again, a really big of applaud to all the entire team for conducting this huge session for everyone. And thank you very much, and take care, Lafis.